Oh, God, it's $1.25. We're off. They raised the rates recently?
They raised the rates.
They did?
Yeah.
When was that?
I don't know. I remember a week ago I plugged in the paper. It said $1.25.
All right, here we go.
There's one in the ball.
One. Now $1.25.
I'll
Two.
leave some bloopers.
Three. A lot of money. 4, 5.
Take a sock out of it. How you started?
Okay, we're standing in front of the Burlington Free Press building. And when we talk about Burlington and when we talk about the state of Vermont, you have to talk about institutions like the Burlington Free Press because they play an extremely important role. And when you're a politician, as I am, or when you're in public life, you're very sensitive to that role because to a large degree, how people perceive what's happening and what they feel is important is very much influenced by the Burlington Free Press. And an issue that is being examined increasingly around this country is the very, very serious issue of how the media is covering public life, whether the media is responsive to the people who buy the publications or who watch the television, or rather the people who own the institutions, such as the Gannett company, which owns the Free Press as well as 92 other dailies in USA Today. And that issue is true, of course, not only for newspapers and magazines, it's true for television increasingly. And in fact, as we stand here in front of the Free Press today, I think one of the issues that we will be examining, perhaps through a task force, I'm not sure yet, during the course of the year, is the role of the media in American society. And the real strong concern that we have that the media is becoming increasingly gobbled up by multinational corporations, so that there are some media experts who estimate that within the next 5 or 6 years you're going to have maybe a half a dozen gigantic communications corporations that will basically determine what we watch on television, hear on the radio, read in books, see on television, and so forth. Very, very important issue. The Free Press, the role of a daily newspaper in a community is, as I indicated earlier, they will determine what is the important news. If they decide to run stories and concentrate on an issue, by and large, it becomes the issue that the community is going to be talking about. And I think what we have to look at and analyze is how good a job does the Free Press do? Well, I think in some sense it does a reasonably good job. It is certainly infinitely better than some of the tabloid publications that exist around this country, papers that are sensationalist, that are concentrating on murders and rapes and fires and violence. The Free Press doesn't emphasize that, and that's good. I have been impressed, I think, by some of the editorial changes that have taken place in the last year. I think the new publisher, Donna Donovan, some of the new people on their editorial staff are doing a better job in giving a more balanced editorial reporting than I think was formerly the case. I have some concerns about what I perceive to be changes in the format in the paper, in that it is beginning to emulate, it seems to me, a little bit of what USA Today is, which is the national Gannett publication, which essentially gives you more color pictures, perhaps, shorter stories, easier to understand stories. And I happen to think that if we're living in a democracy in a very complex world, sometimes the stories are not all that easy, and they're going to be long, they're going to be complicated, and that's what a newspaper is going to have to get out if people are going to understand what's happening. Does the Free Press report all the news? What is the relationship, in fact, between the advertisers? When you look at a newspaper like the Free Press and you analyze the content, what you find is that much of the content, of course, has nothing to do with news, but it is advertising, it is commercials. It takes advertising from the business community. Does that have any impact on their news reporting? I think the answer is obvious that it does. There are some stories that the Free Press will not be enthusiastic about covering, and that's the case with all media, which is owned by wealthy institutions. But once again, I think during the course of this year, we will be examining the role of media, not just the newspaper, but television, in our community and perhaps have some suggestions as to how they can be more responsive to the people so that we can, in fact, get a better understanding of what's really happening in our local society. Okay.